The restaurant business is brutal. Anyone who tells you different is either lying or hasn't been in it long enough. But what they don't tell you is that the deepest cuts don't come from competition or critics. They come from family. I'm David Chin, owner of the Golden Phoenix, San Francisco's oldest family-run Sichuan restaurant. Until last year, that family-run part included my younger brother Eric. Now he owns Dragon's Fire, our biggest competitor, using recipes he stole from our kitchen. Or so he thinks. Our story starts 3 generations ago, when our grandfather arrived in America with nothing but a small notebook of family recipes and a dream. He worked 18-hour days as a dishwasher, saving every penny until he could open a tiny storefront in Chinatown. The Golden Phoenix was born. That notebook became our family's most precious possession. Those weren't just recipes. They were stories, techniques passed down through generations, secrets that made our food unique. Especially our Phoenix sauce, a complex blend of 38 ingredients that took 3 days to prepare properly. Remember, Grandpa would say, showing me how to toast the spices just right. Anyone can follow a recipe. But understanding why each step matters, that's what makes it special. I soaked up every lesson, spending hours in the kitchen after school while Eric played video games. When Grandpa passed away, he left the restaurant to both of us. But everyone knew I'd be the one running it. Eric had never shown any interest in cooking. At least that's what I thought. Things changed after I took over as head chef. The Golden Phoenix thrived under my leadership. We earned write-ups in food magazines, got featured on cooking shows. Our Phoenix sauce became so popular we had to start bottling it for retail sale. Eric handled the business side, accounts, marketing, supplier contracts. It seemed perfect. He had an MBA and a head for numbers while I had the culinary skills. Together, we were bringing the restaurant into a new era. We should franchise, Eric suggested one day, watching me prepare a batch of Phoenix sauce. This sauce alone could make us millions. I shook my head. Grandpa never wanted that. He believed in quality over quantity. One restaurant, done perfectly. Grandpa's dead, Eric snapped. And his old-fashioned ideas are holding us back. That should have been my first warning sign. But he was my brother, and I trusted him. Then came the busy season leading up to Lunar New Year. We were swamped with orders, working double shifts. Eric offered to help with the sauce preparation. "You've got enough on your plate," he said. "I remember watching you and Grandpa make it. Let me handle this batch." I agreed, grateful for the help. That was my second mistake. 2 months later, Eric resigned, said he wanted to pursue other opportunities. I wished him well, even helped him pack up his office. A week after that, I saw the sign. Coming soon, Dragon's Fire, authentic Sichuan cuisine. The location was just 10 blocks from us in the trendy new development area. The promotional materials promised traditional family recipes with a modern twist. And there, prominently featured in every advertisement, was their signature dish, Dragon's special sauce. I confronted Eric at his new location, still under construction. "How could you do this?" I demanded. "Those are our family's recipes." He just smiled, that smug little brother smile I'd seen 1,000 times. "I learned them just like you did. Besides, I've improved them, made them more marketable." Grandpa trusted us to protect his legacy. No, Grandpa trusted you. He always liked you better, always thought you were the true chef. Well, now we'll see who the better businessman is. I left feeling sick, not just because of the betrayal, but because I knew our recipes inside and out. If Eric was really using them, he could seriously damage our business. The next few months were tense. Dragon's Fire opened to great fanfare, backed by heavy marketing and social media influence. Their sauce wasn't exactly like ours. Eric had indeed modernized it, making it sweeter, less complex. But it was close enough to confuse customers. Our business started to suffer. Regular customers would tell us they tried Dragon's Fire, saying the food was similar but more modern. Some even suggested we should update our old-fashioned recipes. The staff could sense something was wrong. Mrs. Liu, our head server who'd worked for my grandfather, pulled me aside one day. "Your grandfather," she said in Mandarin, "he was wise about more than just cooking. Remember what he used to say about protecting family secrets?" I did remember. Grandpa had been almost paranoid about his recipe book, keeping it locked away except when teaching me. He'd also insisted I learn the recipes by heart, not just by reading. "A recipe written down can be stolen," he'd say. But the one in your heart, that's yours forever. That's when I remembered something else. Something about the day Eric had offered to make the sauce. I went to the safe where we kept Grandpa's original recipe book. Next to it was the working cookbook we used in the kitchen, the one with our daily recipes, including the sauce. But they weren't the same recipe. Years ago, when I first took over the kitchen, I created a slightly modified version of the Phoenix sauce recipe for daily use. It was good, but not quite the same as Grandpa's original. The true recipe, with all its subtle details and secret steps, existed only in the original book and in my memory. Eric had stolen the working recipe, not the real one. I checked our security cameras, found footage of him photographing pages from the kitchen cookbook late at night. He thought he had our family's greatest secret, but he only had a copy of a copy. I was still processing this revelation when the announcement came. The city's biggest food festival was happening in 2 months. Both the Golden Phoenix and Dragon's Fire had been invited to participate. Eric's message was immediate. Hope you're ready for some real competition, big brother. After people taste my version of our sauce, the Golden Phoenix will be history. I looked at Grandpa's real recipe book, then at the festival invitation. Maybe it was time to show everyone the difference between a stolen recipe and a true family legacy. But I had no idea then just how far Eric would go to win, or what it would cost both of us to learn the true meaning of family loyalty. The morning of the food festival dawned clear and cool, perfect weather for serving spicy food. I arrived early with my team to set up our booth, watching as Eric's crew assembled an elaborate display across the festival ground. His setup was exactly what I'd expect, sleek, modern, with digital menu boards and trendy lighting. The Dragon's Fire logo glowed in neon red, while uniformed staff handed out promotional materials. Our booth was simpler. The Golden Phoenix, a traditional signage, the same one Grandpa had hand-painted decades ago. Mrs. Liu arranged our tables with the quiet efficiency of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. "Look at this," my sous chef Michael whispered, handing me one of Dragon's Fire's flyers. "They're calling it the original dragon sauce, a family recipe reimagined." I studied the glossy paper. Eric's marketing team had done their job well, creating a story about modernizing traditional recipes for contemporary tastes. There was even a photo of our grandfather's old restaurant, though Eric had carefully cropped out the Golden Phoenix sign. "Chef," Michael interrupted my thoughts, "we've got a problem." I followed his gaze to our prep area, the containers of pre-made Phoenix sauce, 3 days' worth that we carefully prepared, had been tampered with. The seals were broken, the contents obviously diluted. Security cameras would later show 2 of Eric's employees sneaking in during the early morning setup. But right then, all I knew was that we had 2 hours until the festival opened and no sauce. "What do we do?" Mrs. Liu asked, her face tight with worry. I looked at Grandpa's original recipe book, which I'd brought for inspiration rather than use. "We make it fresh, the real version. But it takes 3 days. Not if we do it Grandpa's original way." I opened the book to a page I'd memorized years ago. This was his competition recipe, meant to be made fresh when needed. It's harder, requires more skill, but it can be done in 2 hours. The next 120 minutes were a blur of precise chaos. Every burner going, spices being toasted in careful sequence, sauces reduced at exact temperatures. My team worked with the focused intensity of a surgical unit. The festival opened just as we finished the last batch. Already, I could see the difference. This sauce had a vibrancy and aromatic complexity that even our regular version lacked. This was Grandpa's true recipe, the one he used to win the regional cooking championship in 1975. Eric sauntered over just before the judging began. "Cutting it a bit close, aren't you?" His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Hope nothing happened to your prep work." "Nothing I couldn't fix," I replied calmly. "How's your sauce doing?" "Must be hard getting it right when you're working from an incomplete recipe." His smile faltered slightly. "What are you talking about? I have the exact recipe you use in the restaurant." "Do you?" "Look closely at your sauce, Eric. Notice how it separates slightly? How the oil doesn't quite emulsify? That's because you're missing 3 key steps and 5 ingredients that aren't in the kitchen copy." Before he could respond, the judges arrived at his booth. I watched as they sampled his food, nodding appreciatively. Dragon's Fire's sauce was good, I had to admit that. Eric might be working from an incomplete recipe, but he refined it well. Then they came to our booth. The head judge, a renowned chef who'd known our grandfather, took one taste and closed his eyes. When he opened them, they were shining. "This," he said slowly, "this is Chen Xiaoping's sauce. The real one. I haven't tasted it since the 75 competition." Word spread quickly through the festival. Soon our booth was swamped with people wanting to taste the original sauce. Even Eric's employees were sneaking over to try it. The final blow came during the awards ceremony. Not only did we win Best Sauce, but the head judge made a speech about the importance of preserving true culinary traditions. "Anyone can make a good sauce," he said, echoing Grandpa's words. "But a great sauce carries history, carries soul." Today I tasted a sauce that took me back 40 years, that reminded me why some traditions shouldn't be modernized, but cherished. Eric disappeared before I could talk to him. But later that night, as we were cleaning up, he returned. He looked defeated. "How long have you known?" he asked quietly. "About the recipe swap." "Since you left." "About your employees tampering with our sauce today." "Security cameras caught them." He sank into a chair. I thought I finally had a chance to prove myself. To show I could be as good as you. This was never about being as good as me, Eric. Grandpa didn't spend more time teaching me because he liked me better. He did it because I showed up. I wanted to learn. He never offered to teach me. Did you ever ask? The silence was heavy with decades of misunderstanding. "You know what Grandpa told me before he died?" I continued. "He said he hoped his 2 grandsons would each find their path in the family business. He knew you had skills I didn't, the business sense, the marketing instincts. He thought we complement each other. Instead, I tried to compete with you." Eric's voice was rough and nearly destroyed both businesses in the process. The next few weeks were challenging. The festival victory had boosted the Golden Phoenix's popularity, while Dragon's Fire struggled with comparisons to our original sauce. But something else happened too. Eric came to me with a proposal, not a merger, but a collaboration. Dragon's Fire would become what he'd always been good at, a modern Asian fusion restaurant with its own unique identity. No more copying our recipes or trading on our family name. And maybe, he suggested hesitantly, we could do some pop-up events together. Traditional and modern, showing how the cuisine has evolved. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Today, both restaurants are thriving in their own ways. The Golden Phoenix still serves Grandpa's original recipes, while Dragon's Fire has found its voice in contemporary Asian cuisine. Eric and I have monthly dinner meetings, alternating between our restaurants, slowly rebuilding what we nearly lost. Last week, we hosted a special event, a recreation of Grandpa's 1975 championship dinner. Eric handled the business side, just like old times, while I cooked. As we watched the dining room fill with happy customers, I noticed something. On Eric's office wall, next to his MBA diploma and business awards, hung a familiar photo. It showed a young Chinese man standing proudly in front of a tiny storefront, holding a hand-painted sign. But this time, the Golden Phoenix sign wasn't cropped out. Sometimes the secret ingredient isn't in the recipe at all. Sometimes it's in knowing that family legacy isn't about who makes the better sauce, but about honoring the dreams of those who came before us, each in our own way. And sometimes, like the phoenix itself, what rises from the ashes of betrayal is stronger than what came before.